Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today in today's table talk session, which incidentally is coming from our kitchen table. As mentioned to you in the last session, today we want to talk about the dreaded Community Infrastructure Levy, innocuously referred to as SIL. We've dedicated the whole session to SIL because it's an indication of the importance of getting it right, and certainly we didn't get it right, so hopefully you'll benefit from the experience that we had.
Yes, well, you know how I think in terms of dates. Well, the date of April 2020 is indelibly printed on my mind, as is the name of the officer at the local authority who was tasked with collecting the SIL from us.
Right.
It's real heart attack stuff.
So what is SIL? SIL is the levy or the charge that some local authorities, so it's not all local authorities, just some local authorities, impose on people, and they could be developers or individuals who develop properties in the area. And the charge is usually used to support infrastructure.
Yes, I mean, really it's a development tax. It gives local authorities the power to raise extra revenue. The theory is a good one because, developers who build big housing estates, as a result need to develop the infrastructure. Unfortunately, SIL catches everybody, including the one-off self-builders, and it's precisely the one-off self-builders that don't have the experience and know how to deal with it. They get caught by it, when that happens, well, you'll find out more.
Yeah, exactly. So our architect started the process off by filing the assumption of liability form, and he filed that form with our planning documents. So far so good. The problem is that the SIL anticipates a process, and so when he filed those documents, he ceased to, he'd done his job, and he ceased to be instructed by us. We had somebody else who was responsible for doing the construction drawings. Now that person, used to dealing with developers, thought that we were dealing with the SIL. So you can see already that, with this handover, there wasn't really a handover as far as SIL was concerned. And I should add to that we had another issue, which was that the local authority was restructuring its SIL team. So the local authority was expecting anything in relation to SIL to be directly sent to the SIL team and not to the planning portal. So, and they were also in a mess because of their restructuring. So it was basically a perfect storm.
Yeah, it was certainly, the tsunami hit us. I mean, we got a massive bill plus surcharges right at the end of the self-bill when we had no budget left. Of course, we went into overdrive to try and deal with it. We saw that for various appeal cases, there's loads of appeal cases around, but unfortunately the unsuspecting one-off self-builder often lost their exemption, had to pay the SIL, and in some cases they had to sell the property that they built in order to pay it.
Yeah, so pretty disastrous. So going back to our case, the architect had actually filed the assumption of liability form. Because it didn't get to the right team, the SIL team, they didn't know that a form had been filed. So as far as they were concerned, absolutely nothing had been done. And the process is very regimented in that you file the form to get the process going, the local authority has to do an acknowledgement, and then certain other documents need to be filed. But in our case, the process never even got off to, never got off to the start because the local authority didn't get the application, they didn't file an acknowledgement, and so everything came to a halt.
Yes. I mean, the process to obtain the exemption requires you to notify the SIL department of the local authority both before the demolition works start or before any work start and at the end. So there's big time gaps in between, and each step has to be taken at the correct time. And no quarter is given because, as Carol said, it's very prescriptive, and you have to stick to those notices. And not only that, but if you don't do that and you don't strictly follow the procedure, you lose the exemption, and you can get surcharges on top of the seal. Think in terms of about 10,000 parking tickets. Whatever you say is an excuse, whatever you refer to, act of God or whatever, if you park in the wrong place, you're going to get that ticket. Similarly with seal, if you don't follow the procedure strictly, you could end up paying a seal.
You probably will end up paying
Will
it.
end up paying it. Yeah.
We successfully managed to argue that the local authority had failed to do its part in acknowledging the first part of the process, the assumption of liability form. So we couldn't do anything. Even if the ball hadn't been dropped, we couldn't do anything because the local authority hadn't done its part. We involved a local councillor who was very, very helpful. And quite honestly, we went into overdrive. We just couldn't see how, we just couldn't afford basically to pay that huge bill at the end of the build. So, that was our experience of SIL. We managed to survive it. I think we still, still have nightmares about it, quite frankly. And you can see that even after 3 years after the fact, we still it's still sort of indelibly printed in our brains. So hopefully you've learnt from this table talk session, and that you can benefit from it as well. So here then are our top 5 tips actually for this area.
Yeah, well, number one, before you start your build, check with your local authority to see if they're one of the local authorities that have that do impose seal or are about to adopt it, because not all of them have.
Yeah, I think there's something like 138 locals.
Well, I saw 138 mentioned on the internet. It seems a high number to me, but anyway, that's what it said.
Yeah, but quite a number of local authorities have adopted a seal framework. So, so coming back to our top 5 tips then, make sure you know who's dealing with your seal. It could be your architect, it could be somebody else, but make sure you know that they're dealing with the whole process. And make sure that's in the contract with them.
Yes, that's right. I mean, diarise it because there's big intervals in between each step you're required to take, so it's easy to get distracted and forget about it. So do diarise it, even if you've instructed your architect to do it for you, still diarise it.
Yeah. And most probably the seal documents will be on some portal with the local authority. It could be the planning portal, it could be a special portal for seal. But check with your local authority and make sure that those documents are there.
Yes, that's right. And check and double check. You have to be very obsessive about this, because you can't assume that anyone is going to get it right, including the local authority. And when it goes wrong, it can go spectacularly wrong. And guess who ends up picking up the bill? Yeah.
So, as usual with all our sessions, this is not intended to be legal advice, but hopefully, you will benefit from some of the, some of the experiences that we've had with a self-build. So, thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe.
Thank you.